So you may be thinking about getting your home on the market and just how to stage it to sell. And if you're living in the property, well, you may be wondering if you can actually stage your home with what you have and what you can do. Well, today I'll give you some practical tips of what to do and what not to do by looking at some online examples of staging a property correctly, as well as some misses. So that by the end of the video, you'll have a better idea on what to do when it comes to staging your home for sale. So I'm Harold Powell. I'm a local real estate agent serving Ventura and the surrounding communities. And if you want to stay up to date on all things real estate for Ventura and the surrounding area, just suggest hitting the subscribe and bell icon to be notified of future content. Now, if you're getting ready to sell, you may be interested in watching my video on what not to fix when selling your home. It will give you some good pointers on what I recommend fixing or not fixing when getting ready to sell. All right. Oftentimes, you can get some ideas of looking at other homes in your neighborhood by just going online. And we'll take a look at some homes that have sold on Zillow in the same neighborhood to give you a better idea of how to stage and improve the look of your home before selling. And the reason for getting your property ready is really due to the online vetting process that occurs when selling a property. And both buyers and agents are previewing property online when it first comes on the market. So the online preview really is your first showing of your home, and the vetting process will often determine whether a buyer will set an appointment to come and see it in person. So let's begin with curb appeal. One of the first photos that a buyer or agent will see is the exterior shot of the home. And this is also true when you come to see it in person. So the first impression will often determine if a buyer will continue to look at other online photos or move on to another property. So let's compare some homes in the same neighborhood. All right, so when I take a look at this photo, I recommend trimming back the bushes significantly here so you can see the front of the house. It really hides the house. You know, buyers are buying the features of your home, so you really want to showcase the outside features of the home rather than hide it behind, plants and trees. The other area that sticks out is this driveway, the oil and grease stains. There are companies that can wash and pressure wash and remove much of the grease stains. The other area here you can see looks like the paint is peeling right here and even maybe on the fascia. So I recommend, painting the entire exterior. Now, I was actually going to contrast this property with another property in the same neighborhood. What's interesting is actually a flipper had bought this property, found out, and they had gone through and done much of the things that we had just chatted about. They actually removed this whole front structure with the plan and the overhang. And of course, they repainted the exterior here. Even the lawn has been cleaned up. Looks like they've spruced that up. And of course, the driveway stains, they've pretty much removed. So that's the advantage of, when you have all that done, it makes a big difference in the curb appeal. When you put these two side by side, almost looks like a different house. But keep in mind, the buyer's thought process. If it looks good on the outside, well, then it's likely going to look good on the inside. And of course, the converse is true. If it doesn't look good on the outside, well, then it's probably not going to look good on the inside. So let's move on to some interior shots. All right, so let's take a look at a dated property example with not as much furniture here. The good news is this actually wouldn't probably take too much, in terms of a spend, a little bit of money on flooring and paint to really create a much better look and feel. Since you can see here that the carpet is somewhat spotty, obviously dated as well, kind of dates the room. So the best really option here is to change it to a neutral wood laminate or LVP type floor. I'd probably recommend seeing how the flooring over in here in the kitchen area is also dated. I'd recommend pushing it into the kitchen. And I noticed on this one, there's actually another different type of flooring over in the entry that's different. It's like a parquet flooring. So since you have 3 different flooring surfaces that are dated and actually chop up the layout, this will actually make the house feel updated and larger with just one flooring choice in those areas. And the good news is here you can see the kitchen's already been painted with new fresh paint, knobs, plumbing fixtures. So I would paint the living room a similar white to the kitchen to help update and improve the look of the living room dramatically. Probably would need to replace the dated wall art and remove some of the dated furniture, add a neutral rug. So to really kind of help you visualize, visualize upgrades with this, I found another property that actually similar layout and also has been staged as well here. So we can kind of see these two side by side. So yeah, it looks like it's got the either looks like probably a wood laminate that they installed here, and they've also got neutral decor. They have an updated piece of wall art here. Probably the only thing here I probably would recommend maybe a more of a browner. The gray is kind of going out, but other than that, this is nice done. Obviously with the white walls gives it a much more fresh look, and you really kind of have to ask yourself the question how these two compare side by side. How does this one room make you feel versus the other room? Can I imagine myself moving into the house? The overall goal is to create a positive experience for the buyer, which kind of translates into a better price. Otherwise, a negative experience will just require lowering the price to attract the buyer, really more as an incentive. One of the biggest challenges in trying to stage your home that you're living in is the years of accumulation. And naturally, we all accumulate things. And when you go to sell, it often requires us to declutter and depersonalize to stage the home. Well, the benefit of this process is that it will improve the flow and feel of each room. Having too much stuff will make the room feel cramped and can often hide features of the house. So the motto of less is more is a good one to follow when getting a home ready for sale. So let's take a look at a couple living area examples. So in this interior shot here, there are some easy changes we can make to this room to stage it in a way that buyers can imagine themselves living in. The first change is just to reduce the personal decorative objects from the top of the curio cabinet and the top of the wall divider. You just thin out the decorative objects within the curio to about 3 large pieces, maybe per shelf. Next is really to reduce the wall art down to maybe 2 in total. So maybe remove this one. I would take probably these two pieces here in front of the fireplace, because again, we don't want to hide the fireplace. That is a focal point of this room, so you don't want to really cover it up. Just like the example of bushes, we don't want to cover up kind of a focal point of the house. So I would move that out. One of the other issues is really color problems between the chair, rug, and drapes. Kind of have a color clash going on between these items. So probably the easiest solution is to remove the drapes altogether or change them to a off-white color. The other visual tip is just to stay away from is bold, busy patterns that often create visual clutter. So in this room, the pillows on the chairs are kind of creating that visual clutter, just too much going on. So it'd be best just to remove the pillows in this case. The other pointer is the rug should run directionally with the length of the room. In fact, to help you better see that, I thought I'd pull up this other property that was staged in the same neighborhood, and I think you'll be able to see the subtle differences. Here, the rug is running in the direction of the room, and the furniture actually sits on the rug. So it's the appropriate size. Notice also the neutral colored furniture and decor. The pillows have a nice subtle pattern. The use of a large painting helps kind of create that focal point for the room, since this one doesn't have a fireplace. And there's really not much furniture in here, so it doesn't feel cramped. Now, I do realize that when you're living in your home with kids, this may be a tall order, but you may be able to do some things like purchase a large painting that's neutral, neutral colored rug as well. That can also help. Now, there are a couple other things I want to point out that you can take away from this photo. One is just the use of plants in here quite a bit. Plants give this space really a sense of life, are great accent pieces that create an inviting feeling of warmth and comfort. So if you want to add some life to your space, then plants would be a valuable addition. The other subtle item is the use of mirrors here. With mirror placement, form follows function, meaning you don't just place mirrors too high in a room that people can't see into them. So of course, don't overdo it. We also do not want to create a hall of mirrors in this case. As you can see, rugs are a valuable staging tool to define spaces. It adds warmth, it creates a sense of luxury by choosing neutral colors and appropriate sizes. And the rug mistake happens when staging with too many small rugs, choosing rugs that are too small for furniture, or picking an overly bold or patterned rug that are distracting from the space itself. So here's a quick example of two dining areas, one with a rug and one without it. The one without it really, as you can see, feels like it's floating in space, unfinished, compared to the dining area with the rug, which grounds the room and has really a more defined space. Now, I should mention, if you are planning on painting, I suggest watching my video on the magic of paint to help you with choosing the right paint color and just how significantly it'll increase your home's appeal and price. So, as far as staging bedrooms, keeping bedroom decor as simple as possible is a good rule of thumb. And this is especially true if you want to make a small bedroom look bigger. A nicely made bed, a couple of nightstands and lamps and books, plants, or simple decor on the nightstands and or dressers are all fine. In the primary bedroom, adding a picture over the bed helps kind of ground the space and give a focal point with something interesting that's behind it that blends into the space. Now, once the home has been staged, the next critical element is photography. Hiring a professional photographer will make a big difference in the look of the home. And as I mentioned earlier, your first showing is online, since buyers are evaluating the home online as to whether it's worth seeing in person. And the best option is to have bright, well-composed pictures taken by a skilled photographer rather than using your own iPhone, because you want your photos to showcase the home with well-lit photography and landscape shots. I don't recommend taking vertical shots unless you have to, because you really can't see as much in the pictures. So as an example, take a look at this vertical iPhone shot versus a landscape professional shot. You can see a significant difference between the professional shot, which is sharper and brighter, and even with the landscape look, it produces a much better photo composition. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Thanks.